What's going on? Today I'm going to be going over and breaking down Isreal Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori 1. I was asked by a friend to break this one down, so here we are. Also, if you stick around to the end, I will give my prediction on their upcoming rematch on June 12th. This was a 3-round fight, and I will be going over each round in detail as we evaluate the state of the fight as it progressed. Without too much fussing about, let's get into it. As the round starts, both men naturally approach the center of the octagon. Marvin approaches southpaw while Isreal approaches orthodox. Sensing opportunity, Vettori opens the show with the lead leg kick. He then cautiously yet intently attempts to push forward, a very common theme you're going to see throughout this bout. However, Vettori's push gets nullified by Adesanya, who throws back a powerful calf kick. With both pawns having been played, the Grandmasters can now begin to read each other, attempting to get a bead on the body language of one another. One thing I noticed early on is that Vettori moves forward a lot like Khabib Nurmagomedov. What I mean by this is that, while his head movement and reads are not exactly pretty, mechanically they are fine. The problem for Vettori here is the level of Adesanya's striking. While Marvin manages to hit Izzy with some powerful shots, most are blocked, caught just out of range, or whiffed entirely. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone at this point. We all know Adesanya is one of the most technical strikers in mixed martial arts. Vettori knows this, and about a minute into the round he closes the distance with a flurry and then proceeds to clinch up with Adesanya. Vettori keeps a tight over-under clinch as he attempts to trip Izzy, but Adesanya's takedown defense and long frame help him from getting planted here. Izzy uses his one underhook to turn away from the cage and get some space for his hips to separate from Vettori, allowing him to shake off the clinch. Once they reset, Adesanya attempts to take the center of the cage, but Vettori is not having any of it, pushing forward and trying to land shots. The problem with this approach is that Stylebender is starting to read Vettori's aggressive lunging style and is starting to time his shots accordingly, especially the calf kick. Izzy times this strike well throughout the entire round, and it is clearly affecting Vettori, as we're only halfway through the first round and his walking already seems to be a bit labored. I believe this is where the round begins to turn in Adesanya's favor. He starts to land harder shots cleanly and more frequently. Vettori also throws a body kick that gets caught by Adesanya, something else that's going to become a theme of this contest. Again, we're only halfway through the first round and Adesanya is already starting to read Vettori's movements and counter effectively. A lot of this is coming from Vettori biting on most of Adesanya's feints. With about a minute and a half left in the round, Adesanya accidentally pokes Vettori in his no-no place. It's his eye, I'm talking about his eye. Obviously, Vettori wasn't very happy about this and pressed the action harder after the timeout, even landing one hell of a body kick. This is short-lived as Adesanya continues to touch Vettori with the calf kick and counters several shots as the Italian attempts to push forward. Izzy even lands a spinning, jumping side body kick as a counter, which is only really worth mentioning because I thought it was cool and this is my video, so, you know, Simon Pegg. The round ends with Izzy landing a head kick on Vettori's block. I give this round to Adesanya as I feel he landed the cleaner strikes and was doing significant damage to Marvin's right leg. I could see where a judge watching live could screw up this round though. Marvin was pushing hard and was catching Izzy on the end of some of his strikes. However, I've watched this round so many times at this point that it is clear Adesanya outstruck Vettori with cleaner kickboxing. 10-9, Adesanya. The second round starts out with a pace similar to the first, with Vettori attempting to push on Adesanya. Izzy lands the first strike, however, with a leg kick, but Vettori tries to push through and ends up getting caught with a check hand, we'll call it. It honestly looked like Izzy tried to counter-strike but switched to a grab halfway through the punch. Marvin protested this as being an eye poke, however, Herb Dean says Simon Pegg and the men press on. Immediately after this, Vettori touches him with 2 good left straights. After this, Marvin goes for a double leg takedown that Adesanya stuffs by getting his right underhook and circling out in the direction of the underhook, eventually shaking off Vettori and taking the center of the octagon. Immediately, Adesanya goes back to the well with the leg kick, using it to set up a nice left straight that catches Vettori. Vettori has significantly slowed down since the last round, allowing Izzy to showcase his superior speed by bobbing and weaving through combinations. While Vettori is finding some success by touching Izzy with his left straight, Adesanya is countering effectively. He lands a hard uppercut that appears to stun Vettori for a moment. This only puts Vettori on the back foot for a second before he continues with his walk forward. However, this style is starting to take its toll, as Izzy continues to throw counter punches and chew up his opponent's lead leg. This goes on for a minute before Adesanya lands himself a beautiful elbow over the guard of Vettori. Marvin thought this was an eye poke somehow, then proceeded to be very surprised by the fact that his opponent was barreling towards him. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda get a chuckle watching this one because right afterwards, Izzy is flipping him the bird and Marvin returns with two pretty doves of his own. From here, Izzy continues the counter punishment. He is mixing up kicks to the body and legs while throwing counter punches to the body and head. Vettori is definitely frustrated at this point as his takedown attempts haven't been successful and his strikes haven't been landing cleanly. This hasn't stopped him from trying to walk forward and throw combinations, even if it is in vain. Now, it may seem based on my commentary that Adesanya is just teeing off on Vettori, but this isn't really accurate. While yes, Adesanya is definitely winning this round so far and is landing the cleaner shots, Marvin isn't just standing there and being a punching bag. He is moving his head and body a lot, and that is at least making it hard for Adesanya to hunt for the finish. The round ends and it is clear that Izzy is up on the scorecards. Vettori needs to come into round 3 with a different plan. My scorecard here is 2018 Adesanya. Vettori comes out hard in the beginning of round 3, throwing combinations and pushing forward the way he has been the entire fight, even catching Adesanya with a few strikes while he attempts to get away. Vettori is turning up the output in the first 30 seconds, throwing punches and landing leg kicks. That is, until he changes levels and goes for a takedown. Marvin gets deep on a single leg, turns the corner and drives to secure the takedown. They end up in half guard and Izzy appears to make an attempt to improve his position, but Marvin immediately snuffs the transition before it begins. Vettori is content to hold this position on top for a moment and gain some control time. Adesanya attempts to buck off the fence, but the Italian has been in this position before and uses his upper body pressure to stop the attempt. Vettori holds the half guard position for about 30 seconds while Adesanya squirms his way to the fence. As Marvin attempts to throw ground and pound, Izzy is able to re-guard and put himself in a safer position to try and work his way back to his feet. Vettori tries to throw ground and pound from guard, but most of it is ultimately ineffective and gives Izzy the opportunity to post and wall walk back up to his feet. In the clinch, Izzy attempts to make space but then makes a questionable decision when he decides to try a lateral drop. Vettori reads this and, as they scramble, is able to take the back clinch and push Izzy to the fence. Izzy spins around and gets over-unders with his back still against the side of the octagon. He tries to work his way off but gets dumped back down on his butt. As he's trying to post on his hands to wall walk, Vettori has the read and gets wrist control, forcing Izzy down to his back. Izzy is very slippery on the bottom and manages to get some space when Vettori tries some ground and pound. This allows him to post and get back to the feet. Marvin still has Izzy in a body lock, pushed back against the fence. He tries to switch to a single leg, but Izzy isn't having any of that, and the attempt is abandoned. What happens next is Herb Dean breaks up the clinch. I'm not actually sure why in this case. Vettori didn't appear to be stalling. He seemed to be looking for a new way to get Adesanya down. But what happened, so the two reset and the stand-up game can commence. At this point, it is clear that Vettori is exhausted. Adesanya still looks game, though I wouldn't say fresh. The last minute has the two going back and forth, landing several shots on each end, but none I would call fight-changing. The output was about the same on each side as well, so this last minute didn't really change much in my opinion. I give that round to Vettori, but it wasn't a blowout. And that brings my final scorecard to 29-28 Adesanya, but that's already to be expected, isn't it? As I said in the beginning, I did this breakdown because a friend asked me to, and it also seemed like good timing with the rematch coming up. The best part about this fight for me was that the action never stopped. The output on both ends in this fight was pretty high for these two middleweights. And the way Vettori kept walking through the leg kick showed some real conditioning on his end. And I expect him to bring that into the rematch as well. Izzy's technical ability on the feet stayed sharp for the whole 3 rounds. I honestly think the rematch is going to go pretty differently. Of course, this is fighting after all, and the unexpected could always happen when you have two highly trained combatants in that octagon. I personally think Adesanya is going to win by a 4th round TKO. Marvin's conditioning should be enough to get him through the first few rounds, should he decide to stand with Izzy, but I don't think conditioning will be enough to take the title. If I'm Vettori, I'm going to be looking to take him down in the center of the octagon. I try to use that walk down style that he used in the first fight that we just went over to set up a sneaky little level change. But honestly, what do I know? I'm just a guy enjoying these events like the rest of y'all. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, as it really helps me out. Also, tell me down below what fight I should break down next. I've been enjoying making these and will continue to do them if people like them. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.